If you're an Indiana Fever fan, this is something you already know. However, for the haters out there, the old WNBA fandom, many of you call them the slows. For those fans, they're in complete denial. We've tried to tell people Caitlin Clark moves the...
So, get this. Sophie Cunningham just dropped a major bombshell on her podcast. She basically said, "The next team I play for, I want a bigger contract so I can finally buy a house and settle down." That statement sent shockwaves through the Indiana Fever organization. This wasn't just a casual comment. It was a clear hint that one of their most valuable, underrated players might be considering leaving. The implications are massive, not only for the team's roster but for the entire future of the franchise, especially with their superstar Caitlin Clark, who has completely transformed the league. This isn't just about money. It's about the foundation the Fever are trying to build around their generational talent.
Sophie Cunningham is one of the biggest names in the WNBA, and as well as that, she's also one of the best glue guys, role players in the entire league. Say we want about Sophie Cunningham, she shot 63% true shooting percentage while being a well above average defender. I'm not going to say a great defender, but like well above average defender. She's one of the better defenders on the Fever, and she's somebody that originally usurped the one of honor as a starter.
And Fever actually contending, and honestly, for Caitlin Clark's future success too. Losing Sophie Cunningham, known for her high-volume three-point shooting and invaluable glue player role, would leave a massive gap. That's not something you can easily replace. Her departure would directly impact the Fever's offensive spacing and defensive stability, two areas Clark absolutely relies on to perform at her best. Cunningham's potential exit signals a major setback, one that could derail the carefully built chemistry this team desperately needs around its star. This isn't just a minor roster adjustment. It's a foundational shock that could reshape their...
Tried to tell people Caitlin Clark moves the needle unlike anybody else in this league or everybody else in this league. It just sort of is what it is. Fans are coming to see one particular player, and along with that carries over the support to the entire team. Well, Forbes has released a rather very interesting insight report that tells you exactly how much the Indiana Fever's social media engagements are actually monitored.
For Caitlin Clark, the stakes couldn't be higher. She entered the league with enormous hype, single-handedly redefining WNBA engagement and bringing millions of new fans to the sport. The expectation isn't just to compete, it's to win championships. So losing a proven, low-ego, high-impact player like Cunningham, especially if it's due to financial mismanagement, would be a bitter pill to swallow. It points to a potential failure in how the Fever are building their roster, which directly affects Clark's ability to win. You can only imagine the frustration of a superstar whose unprecedented impact on the league
matched by enough support on the court, and it brings up serious questions about the team's long-term vision.
It does sound like the Fever are not going to keep her. From her podcast, a lot of the time she'd been mentioning the Fever, and in the most recent podcast, she did not mention the Fever, and she said this.
And I think the next team I play for, I want a bigger contract, so then I can buy a house and be homey and cozy.
That's wild. It really sounds like she could be headed to the Liberty or maybe even New York City. Sophie Cunningham's on-court value is undeniable and practically irreplaceable. Her numbers are impressive. She boasts a 63% true shooting percentage, paired with solid defense that makes her one of the Fever's best perimeter defenders. And get this, she shoots 43% from three-point range at high volume, which stretches defenses and creates vital space for drivers and cutters like Clark. She plays within the system, has a winner's mentality, and is famous for her nearly ego-free approach. rare at the professional level. These aren't just stats. They're the hallmarks of a key role player who elevates everyone around her. That's what makes her potential departure so impactful.
Has released a rather very interesting insight report that tells you exactly how much the Indiana Fever's social media engagements are actually monetarily worth, either on X or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever. I mean, all these posts have a monetary value to them based on engagement. Boy, their posts are worth a lot of money. They are worth a lot of money, and I can tell you right now, that's a little over 5 times higher than the...
On her play, Sophie Cunningham is a major presence off the court. She's consistently one of the most searched WNBA players and has big-name sponsorships, like her deal with Arby's. Her popularity significantly boosts the team's brand visibility and fan engagement. Sure, Caitlin Clark is the main reason the Fever's social media valuation has skyrocketed to around $55 million, 5 times higher than the next WNBA team, but players like Cunningham amplify that reach. Losing such a marketable and well-liked player wouldn't just hurt the roster. It would damage the Fever's overall brand power and limit how much they can capitalize on their newfound fame.
To keep. Like, this is the dumbest thing I think I've seen a team do. Like, genuinely. They traded 4 years of Sinai Rivers, and by the way, the Fever wouldn't have drafted Sinai Rivers. The Fever would not have drafted Sinai Rivers. The Fever are dumbasses. They would have drafted somebody else. But losing Sophie Cunningham for money reasons is not a smart thing to do. Like,
and here's the thing. Losing Cunningham also throws serious shade on past management decisions. Remember, the Fever gave up the 8th overall pick in the draft, used on promising talent Samaya Rivers, specifically to acquire Cunningham. The whole move was meant to bring in an experienced, effective player to elevate the roster immediately. Now, to let that asset potentially walk away after just 1 season, essentially turning her into a 1-year rental for a high draft pick, critics are calling it one of the dumbest moves a team could make. The original investment made sense for a win-now plan, but watching it unravel like this looks like a massive miscalculation.
They are worth a lot of money, and I can tell you right now, that's a little over 5 times higher than the next WNBA team. 5 times higher. Let's go down here. Just scroll down. The Indiana Fever's staggering $55 million social media evaluation speaks volumes. Now, before we get into this, let me just come over here and let me read this to you so you know exactly what we're looking at. After noticing the...
Critics aren't holding back. They're blasting Fever management for what appears to be a monumental mistake. Trading away 4 years of cost-controlled rookie value for a player who might leave after 1 season due to contract issues. That's baffling. This isn't just about retaining a player. It's about smart asset management and building a sustainable championship contender. The message is clear. Unless Sophie Cunningham is demanding a max contract, which seems highly unlikely given her role, the Fever have made an unforgivable error. It jeopardizes their long-term strategy and completely undermines their current competitive window.
Popular opinion, Sophie's better than Lexi. But it's close enough to fair enough Lexi's younger. But I'm like, Lexi's not worth a max either. Like, if you're stuck in a situation where you've got 2 wings that are not max contract players looking for max contracts, you have to pick one or the other, you're kind of screwed. Especially because you could have had a cost-controlled Sinai Rivers for 4 years. At the same time, what are the odds that Steph White would have not developed Sinai Rivers whatsoever?
So what's really going on here? The core issue appears to be financial. Cunningham has made it clear she wants a bigger contract, and honestly, that's completely fair considering her performance and value. But the Fever are running into salary cap limits and tough decisions as they try to build around Caitlin Clark. That creates a serious dilemma. How do you keep essential role players without compromising future flexibility? If the Fever can't or won't pay Cunningham her market value, it sends a troubling signal about how the organization prioritizes its key contributors. This isn't just about losing one player. It's about what that decision says regarding how the team values its foundation.
CEO of STN Digital, the valuations of these franchises are increasing dramatically. The ratings on television are better than ever, and I think there's no better time to look at what's happening on social media. Using a model called, quote, social value metric, the study calculated the estimated pay media equivalent value created by organic posts, factoring in impressions, video views, engagements to benchmark what the same exposure would cost through advertising. So in other words, if you paid out...
Adding to the complexity is the internal comparison with Lexi Hull. She's younger and viewed as a developing wing, but many analysts believe Cunningham is currently the better player. If both are seeking larger contracts, the Fever are in a tough spot. The unpopular opinion? Sophie gives you more immediate impact, while the team might favor the younger Hull for long-term potential. Even if neither warrants a max deal, mishandling this internal battle could mean losing a proven veteran without finding an equally impactful replacement. That would further weaken the team's competitive balance.
She's not, like, KK Timpson, I've watched her the entire year, and you could say, oh, you know, KK could have been, like, she should have been progressing much better if Steph White had played her more. But I'm watching her over in Europe. She's not getting better. She's not getting better. Like, she's cooking the bad teams and then looks lost against the good teams. She's not really improving, and that is concerning. That is concerning. And now you're at a stage where, like, you have to realistically keep, like, if you don't keep Sophie, if you don't...
Meanwhile, the Fever's wing depth issues are worsened by the stagnant development of KK Timpson. Despite high hopes, she hasn't shown the expected progress and struggling against top European teams and failing to make noticeable improvements. That lack of growth means the Fever can't count on her to step into a bigger role if Cunningham leaves. Without Timpson's development, and with Cunningham possibly gone, the Fever's wing rotation could become dangerously thin. That leaves Caitlin Clark with even fewer reliable perimeter shooters and defenders, making an already challenging situation even more dire.
The Indiana Fever led the league with an estimated $55.04 million in social value, 38.73 million engagements, 1.17 billion impressions during the 2025 season. The top 5 teams by social value were the Indiana Fever, Dallas Wings at 8.61 million. That was second, folks. You went from 55 million down to 8.
The thing is, Sophie Cunningham's blend of shooting, defense, and incredible selflessness makes her a truly irreplaceable player for the Fever. Her unique zero-ego mindset allows her to embrace any role, making her the ultimate team-first player, a rare quality in professional sports. Unless the Fever have someone like Aya McBride ready to step in, Cunningham's specific impact simply can't be replicated. This isn't about finding another scorer. It's about finding someone who genuinely makes everyone around her better without ever demanding the spotlight. Her departure wouldn't just show up in the
That will help, and I don't give a damn about this enforcer type shit. What I do give a damn about is the fact that she shoots 43% from 3. She shoots 43% from 3. And shoots it at a high volume, is tough. Plays within a role, plays within a system, and is a winner. Like, is a winner and has near, like, I'm not going to say zero.
What's wild is that the tone of Cunningham's podcast comments goes far beyond speculation. It strongly suggests she's already had a conversation with the organization. It sounds like a player who's either been told she's not being retained or that the team won't meet her contract demands for next season. This doesn't sound like a negotiation tactic. It sounds like the reflection of someone already preparing for a new chapter. Making such an early public declaration signals a major breakdown in contract talks or an organizational decision to move in another direction. And that sends a troubling message about how the Fever manage their key asset.
Increase. They increased engagements by 505%, impressions by 251%, and a social value by 344%. So good God, I don't know where they ranked prior, but they had that much growth and was still, basically $37 million behind the Indiana Fever in second place. Wow. And I wonder where that would be. Look,
the consequences of this potential misstep ripple through the Fever's entire draft strategy. The team invested heavily to get Cunningham, giving up a highly valuable draft pick under the assumption she'd be a long-term piece. If she now walks for nothing, that's essentially losing the 8th overall pick without any lasting return. Sure, some WNBA teams don't always value draft picks highly, but the scale of this loss, sacrificing such a major pick for what could amount to one season of contribution, is a glaring waste of resources. This decision reflects a concerning disregard for building a future-proof roster around their franchise cornerstone.
DeWanna Bonner, and they want to free up salary for DeWanna Bonner. But this is concerning because are they going to keep Natasha Howard? Are they going to get rid of Sophie Cunningham to keep a max contract for Natasha? The offense stops here, Howard. Like, for me, that's just really, really concerning. And I'm worried. I'm really, really worried. Like, because by the sounds of things, this does absolutely sound like a take from a person who has been either knows or has been told they're gone.
Now, get this. A particularly troubling rumor suggests the Fever might actually be prioritizing a max contract for Natasha Howard instead of keeping Sophie Cunningham. That potential move has been met with widespread disbelief among analysts. Howard is a solid player, but her style tends to slow down the offense, while Cunningham helps with ball movement and floor spacing. Prioritizing someone who disrupts offensive rhythm over a player who perfectly fits a modern, fast-paced system built around Caitlin Clark goes against everything we've learned about winning basketball in the last 20 years. It signals a deep misunderstanding of how to properly construct a roster.
Was surprising. I have to admit, I thought the Chicago Sky would be second because of Angel. I did. And she was fifth. That's interesting. So, Caitlin, Paige Beckers, Asia, but we're talking they're way behind. Way behind. In monetary value. God, the Chicago Sky was Jesus, way back there.
This rumored decision, choosing Howard over Cunningham, is being called basketball blasphemy by many. Modern basketball, especially when you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, demands shooting, spacing, and versatile, low-ego role players. Cunningham embodies all of that. Howard's style, meanwhile, is far less complimentary, giving up one of the league's most valuable plug-and-play pieces, especially one who could likely be re-signed at a reasonable rate, in favor of a player who fundamentally slows down your offense. That's a move that could haunt the Fever for years and limit Clark's ability to fully unlock her game.
Against everything we know about the sport of basketball, everything we have learned for 20 years about the sport of basketball will tell you that Sophie Cunningham is one of the most valuable players in the league if you can get her at the right money. And whatever half a max contract, not even half a max contract, whatever a Bridget Carlton's making, you've got to match that. You got to match a Bridget Carlton. Like, in terms of value, there are maybe 45 more valuable players in the WNBA than Sophie Cunningham.
There's also a growing concern that the Fever's past successes were driven more by luck than by smart strategic planning. Drafting Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, then having Boston adjust her game perfectly to complement Clark, along with Kelsey Mitchell's development as an off-ball cutter, those were fortunate alignments. Not necessarily brilliant front office moves. Even the hardship signings didn't always fit the run-and-gun system the team wants to play. Now, with Sophie Cunningham possibly on her way out, analysts fear that the Fever's streak of good fortune may be ending. Without a clear, intelligent team-building strategy, the franchise's trajectory could quickly decline, something that would surely frustrate Clark. The upcoming summer looks riddled with uncertainty. There are real fears the Fever will mishandle their remaining draft picks and free agency opportunities. The concern is that management isn't actively constructing a cohesive roster designed to maximize Caitlin Clark's once-in-a-generation talent. Instead, they risk wasting opportunities and alienating key players, leaving Clark in a position where her extraordinary efforts don't translate into team success because of poor organizational decisions. This situation isn't just about wins and losses. It's about validating the enormous investment made in their superstar. Sophie Cunningham's shocking hint about leaving isn't just a player news story. It's a warning siren for the entire Indiana Fever organization. If they allow one of the league's most efficient, selfless, and impactful role players to walk away for preventable reasons, it would be a catastrophic failure in management. It would directly undermine the competitive window Caitlin Clark has opened, and could lead to immense frustration for a player who deserves a properly built roster to chase championships. The true value of Sophie Cunningham is immeasurable, and losing her now could forever alter the Fever's destiny.